And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 6 now of Comic Convos. This is going to be an every Tuesday stream with the Dynamite Dynamic Forces group. Also, make sure you follow the experience as well. I'm on their live stream every single Wednesday. They have a lot of awesome books to sell. They always go live also on Fridays for art. And I believe you also do Mondays as well for sales as well.
That is correct.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on again. I love, talking comics and everything with you. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you, buddy?
Awesome. I'm doing really well. I see you've got some really cool stuff back there.
We do. We do. I sent you the advanced list, so you had an idea what's coming tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, our usual bundle of stuff, CGC slabbed, usually no less than a 9.6. A lot of them are 9.8s. Usually we have one available of any particular comic. I'm a big fan of Ken Hazer, so we have sketch cover art from him, signed comics, ultra limited comics. One thing I love that we've been doing that's been real popular is the Dynamite 10 pack. And the Dynamite 10 pack is essentially 10 random Dynamite titles with a cover price of a minimum of $3.99. So $40 retail roughly. And we're selling it for $5. And the idea is just to increase the number of comic book readers out there, collectors out there, kind of, grow the hobby. And and introduce people to Dynamite Comics, Dynamite Entertainment. If it isn't something they've picked up, I know a lot of people have been watching the Boys series on TV. Not a lot of a lot of people know, some people don't. A lot of people maybe don't know that Dynamite has been publishing the Boys for, let me think, 15 years
It's
at
been a
least.
while.
So
it's awesome too.
Yeah, so we've been big appreciators of the context and the storyline of the Boys long before it hit the silver screen, so to speak. It's always great when it's something that you've worked on, that you followed. Obviously with the Dynamite team here, that long ago, for it to finally make it. Its time has come, so to speak, and it turns into a popular television series. That's always really exciting.
Yeah. And super quick before we get into, the stuff you've got going on, the Dynamite books this week, I just want to say thank you everyone for checking in to the next episode. We got Preston Eskridge, figure drawing. Looks like there's a few other people hanging out. Welcome. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. So as we wrap up, talking about the Boys, what cool books are coming out this week for Dynamite? Well, I'm really looking forward to one of them in particular, but which ones are you looking forward to?
Well, we've got Army of Darkness, 1979, number 2. James Bond, number 1, and we have a Frank Thorne Red Sonja 45th anniversary edition statue that's also coming out this week. Vampyverse number 2, I think, is coming out this week. But real interesting, and I know it's been something that's kind of taken the world by storm all of a sudden. Everybody knows about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all the kind of ups and downs for the last 5 or 6 years. But we've started getting into it with the NFTs. And I know that the Boys, talking about the Boys, they have NFTs available in digital comic form. So a lot of the older stories, I see, who was it? Figure Drawing said that he has Rusty Staples from his Boys number 1. Well, you know what? If you're into NFTs, that type of thing, the Boys are available now on Terra Virtua, digital comics, digital issues for in NFT form. So that's been something new that we've been kind of working with. We are very cognizant of the environmental kind of issues with crypto and NFTs. So we partnered up with Terra Virtua. And what they do is, for those that are into NFTs, they kind of know what I mean. But those who don't, one of the issues about crypto and NFTs, because it generates from the same process as cryptocurrency, is its heavy use of electrical power, obviously, for the mining. So that's what's called in the crypto world as proof of work. So now they switched to something called proof of stake. And I won't bore everybody with the technical details, but proof of stake is significantly different than proof of work, because proof of work requires you to do that heavy mining, which is pretty much just complex mathematical equations that eat up a lot of power and that only a computer can figure out. And when they move to proof of stake, it really is a form of ownership, so that heavy mining that hurts the environment doesn't take place. But it was something interesting. We had an opportunity to get into it, so we did, and I think it's going to be real interesting, where it takes us. Obviously it was all the rage, a few months ago when they first started popping out, and people were just scooping them up. So if you are a boys fan, if you are a crypto fan, we have this form of collectible, if you will, also available, and we're doing it with the boys. And Red Sonia, the dog.
Oh yeah, I think someone is outside right now.
Squirrel.
Yeah, probably. Sorry about that.
No, you kidding me? That's the magic of I think of what we do is that the other day I was doing something with Rock and Robbie over Pop Culture Philosophers, and the Amazon guy came running through the door trying to make a delivery. And I think that's part of the magic of these shows, is that it keeps things kind of real, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what kind of dog do you have anyway?
One is a pit bull mix, and the other one that's extremely yappy is a puppy. It's a dash hound.
Okay.
I got it right here.
We used to have, my daughter and I used to have a Dotson. I hope you're prepared, Alex.
She got a little bow,
very
too.
long-lived breeds.
Dash hounds?
Yeah.
Nice.
They our Dotson lived till, we got him when my daughter was 2, and he passed away a couple of years ago. My daughter's 21.
Holy.
Yeah,
that is a long time.
I didn't know that either until we went to take him to a vet appointment. I think it was 3 or 4, and our regular vet was on vacation or something like that, and he had somebody covering for him. And it turns out the guy actually was, in his spare time, also a breeder of Dachshunds. And I was just curious, like, how long they usually live, and I'm thinking he's going to tell me, 10, 11 years. He goes, the average lifetime is probably somewhere between 16 and 17 years. He says, but I've had ones that have pushed past 20.
That's
and I'm
insane.
Like, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm doing the math. I'm like, wait a minute. So my daughter's going to be in college, and I'll still have this dog. And right up until, the last bit. I mean, towards the end, he got a little bit old and stuff. But it's funny you bring that. I have a very good friend. When our dog passed away, his name was Wags. When he passed away, I took a break, and then the pandemic hit. My daughter, came home from college, and we're kind of stuck in the house. And we went to a good friend of mine. She works at a shelter in Camden County, not too far away from where we live. And we went in looking for a dog. Somehow we ended up with a pair of bonded cats. I still don't know what happened there. It was like a shell game in Times Square. So all of a sudden I walk in for a dog, I come out with 2 cats.
Hey, that's how it goes.
But I want to stress to everybody, if and I know I'm segueing a little bit away from comics, go to your local shelter. They're crammed right now, all across the country. If you're looking for a dog or a cat, please adopt. Don't shop. Adopt it. It's plenty, and they're great. I mean, they're great. And I know in our area, they took care of, for a small fee. They took care of all the vaccinations and having them neutered and all that good stuff. But they could really use your help. So. But I digress. So that's great. So I'm sure the little one is the boss of the house, right? He bosses around the pitting mix.
She bosses the pit bull around.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. He's probably standing around going, how'd this happen to me?
I know. Super quick. I just want to say, I didn't want to cut you off, but thank you so much, Preston Eskridge, to the donation to the channel. It really does mean a lot, really helps out with the live streams as well. So thank you again.
Absolutely.
And to go back to some of the books you got this week. So I noticed you got a brand new one coming out. You got James Bond. I believe it's Himeros #1. Is that how you say it?
#1. That is correct.
So everyone that's in here right now, there's there's a lot of James Bond fans out there in the world. Would you be able to give a little bit of detail about that book without, obviously spoilers?
It's a title that we've been running for quite some time, and it obviously the popularity peaks whenever a movie is released.
Absolutely.
So with the movie just coming out, we're seeing a much higher demand than in between movies, which is kind of natural. I mean, I think we see that with anything that comes out with MCU or with DC Universe. When they put something out there like What If, obviously has been real hot. You tend to see those titles start to disappear, but no spoilers. It's a great read. I definitely suggest it if you are a James Bond fan, which I am. Way back, dating back a little bit older than you, AR. So dating way back to the Sean Connery days. It's been interesting to watch the evolution.
I was gonna say it's cool to see the changes over the years.
It is, and I love the Roger Moore one, but in a different way, because he turned it into more of a kind of like a campy, like Batman, the TV series in the 60s. He turned it more into a campy, tongue-in-cheek sort of character, whereas Sean Connery was the rough and tumble guy, and then there was the George Lazenby, Her Majesty's Secret Service one in the middle, which everybody hated at the time, but now I think people are looking at it a little bit because of the new movie. Kind of goes back to that. James Bond falls in love, that type of thing, which is what we saw, in the George Lazenby version, the one movie that he made that, unfortunately people didn't like at the time, but I think people, times have changed. So, but I definitely encourage people to pick it up. It's a great read. Follows, true to the character, if you will. But it's been one of our more popular titles, certainly through the years. Army of Darkness, number 1979, number 2, also a very, very good read.
I'm so excited for that.
We do the Dynamite 10-pack for $5 is to kind of introduce people to, there are a lot of independent publishers out there, and try to introduce them to something new that maybe isn't DC, maybe isn't Marvel. No disrespect, obviously, to the two 800-pound gorillas, in the industry. But what I love, and you and I have talked about this before when you've been on our show, is that these movies, these TV series have kind of put comic books on the map. And what we're trying to do is try to bridge that gap, in the sense that a lot of people, they realize it comes from comic books, but I don't think those that are the movie fans, or the fans of the TV series like Loki or whatever, I don't think they realize how much of that is drawn from the original stories by the creators as the source material for a lot of this stuff, and although it changes and they mix and match, but quite honestly, it's amazing how true to form they've been in trying to use the original stories. I mean, it's almost like a ready packaged screenplay for you. You just got to tweak it somewhat, and bang, you can start shooting. And we're our hopes that guys like yourself, guys like Robbie, I think what you guys are doing is great, because you're kind of introducing and bridging that gap for everyone. That, hey, you love that movie, you loved Loki, you loved What If, whatever the case may be. Well, guess what? This is where it's all coming from. These are where these original ideas are coming from, and hopefully we grow. We grow the collectors out there for comic books, so on and so forth. And I want to say this, and I know you're a big supporter as well. If you are a comic fan, please visit your local comic shop. They are the ultimate small business. Over the last couple of years, it's been very, very hard, very difficult for especially for small business. It's been a crazy time for everybody, but love to help them all. I eat out a lot, so it's just me and my grown dog, who's never even home, and I eat out a lot. But that's the most I can do for, quote unquote, the small mom and pop restaurants out there, is just continue to order from them and pick up dinners and lunches or whatever. But you, others, that are in the comic collectibles business, we can do more. We can do more to help these shops, and we all have to remember that's the foundation of the entire comic book universe. Without these guys, without the local comic book shop, without people going to get their pull lists every Wednesday, think about this. Then it dies. The creators start to leave, and then what are you going to make a movie of? When you think about the top 10 movies over the last year, what are they? And so much of it comes from the comic book world. So it all plays, it all plays a role. So,
And one really cool thing, talking about movies and comic books, and we're talking about people who might be, more movie fans. Some people are more comic book fans, but
yes.
in addition to, the books that you're coming out with this week, you talked about the Army of Darkness 1979 issue number 2. For those of you who haven't read it and you're massive fans of the TV show or the movies, I'd say it holds very true to the movies. It's got a little bit of comedy, just like Bruce Campbell basically is. When I first read that issue and his character finally got introduced, I was like, wow, this is definitely him right now. We got his humor, we have his little bit of personality. And then they introduced an actually awesome plot too. It feels so fresh. It felt very new. And when I was done reading it, I was really looking forward to that next issue. So I'm really happy it's coming out.
And that's always great to hear, from our end, in that we think that, all the titles that we publish, it's we do our best to make sure it's well written. We try to make sure we pick creators that are going to enhance the title, so to speak. But a lot of times it's hard to introduce people to these new titles because there's so many out there. I mean, yeah, it's almost impossible for anybody to read every single title that's released every Wednesday, unless you're like my buddy John, who joins us on our show, and you happen to be retired. So you can do that kind of stuff. But that's kind of the goal of what we try to do here. And I think on our show and your show as well, because of the pandemic and the fact that people really haven't been going out and doing, I don't know, normal things in their normal life. That even though some of these local comic book shops have gone digital and you can order online, and they'll mail you your pull list, or maybe they do a curbside drop off or something like that. I think what's lost is that the time that people hang in their local comic book shop, with other people of like mind, like interests, and you have conversations. And I think that's what we try to capture with our show and your show. And when we have guys like yourself on, the conversation can go anywhere.
It really can.
And that's the whole point of it, is that, we try to stay on comics, but every now and again, we drift off to things like cheesesteaks and other things.
I was like going to say cheesesteaks.
So I don't know. I mentioned that on one of the first shows, and it's just kind of stuck. So, and my buddy John, who's on the show with us on Monday and Wednesdays, he happens to be retired from the food industry. So this guy knows quite a bit, and the man can cook. No doubt about it. So that's how we kind of drift off into that tangent every now and again. But what we're trying to recreate is and with our viewers, just like yours, you kind of engage them in the chat and so on and so forth, just so you can recapture that experience of, go to your local shop and you pick up your pull list and you see a couple of people that and you have similar interests, or there's some similar titles that you read, and just kind of get in a conversation about it.
Absolutely. And, we've been talking about it, and it's really cool just to see sometimes the differences between all the different shops too. Some have a lot of books, some don't have as many books. Other ones have all these awesome collectibles. And that's what brings a lot of people in too, because you might not be interested in, say, comics, but you love the statues. But now you can get up maybe talking about, for example, you said a new Red Sonia. Was it Red Sonia statues coming out this week?
Yes, a Frank Thorne Red Sonia 45th anniversary edition statue. And tomorrow night, we're actually going to have a statue as well on the air.
Awesome.
We had one. Did we have one last Wednesday? I think we did.
We did. Right? It was the exclusive. I don't remember the name of it offhand.
Women of Dynamite.
The women's. I was going to say it's women something.
Yeah. So it turned out that was one of our. So the other thing that we started doing, and we did last week when you were on the show, is we're now, there's a smattering of claim books. So the highest claim takes it. We started $1, and the statue was one of those items, and a couple of people got into a little bit of a claim war over the statue. So we're going to start bringing those on the air as well. Cool. As they're available. Since obviously we have a statue collecting market, viewers as well out there. But you bring up a good point. I mean, we try to bring, again, we're trying to complement that local comic book shop. We're trying to complement guys like yourself that are trying to bring more, a bigger audience, more eyes onto, comic book collecting and reading, which, has not, it's certainly done great. We've seen the appreciation of old back issues and certainly Bronze Age, Gold Age, Silver Age comics. But it hasn't risen quite as quickly and as rapidly as the audience for the movie. So we're hoping to kind of link those two together, so to speak.
It'll come. It just, it takes the right, I don't even know the right way to say it, but that time is coming. More people are getting more and more into these collectibles.
Right.
Pokemon's exploded. Comic books are crazy within these last couple of years. And why? Basically because of these movies. I mean, obviously a lot of people had a lot of free time as well, but now that they had this free time, either they were able to buy the comics so they could say they saw the movie, they love the movie, and now they have this comic that matches the movie. Maybe it's a first appearance, or maybe it's based on what the arc is, something like that. But the way that it's going is now everyone's loving these comics too. We were talking about it on last Wednesday. You had the Marvel premiere issue #1 on. I forget the grade, but first appearance of Adam Warlock. What happened yesterday? They James Gunn came out and said, what was his name? Is his name Peter Poulter or Phil Poulter? I can't remember his name.
I can picture his face.
I know chat's got it. Someone in chat's got it. But yeah, there it is. We were just talking about it. We had maybe a 10-15 minute conversation talking about how big Adam Warlock's going to be. It's only a matter of time, and not even a full week later, James Gunn came out and said he's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and now the book exploded. So if you guys did show up to last week's show, you had an awesome opportunity for that first appearance. It was a great grade, an awesome price, but I don't know if they're going to be selling it for that price again.
Yeah, I don't know if we can. But
after the news,
we'll certainly make our best attempt. But that's the idea is to bring it at affordable prices. The great thing about the graded books that we bring is for the modern books, almost every book that we bring is the vast majority of them are going to be 9.8s. Some 9.6s, but never below that. That's only for Bronze Age or Silver Age books, where the grades is below a 9.6.
Will Poulter, that was his name. We were close.
Yes,
we were close.
So
sorry for cutting you off.
When we bring the graded comics, you're almost, whatever you see on air will be what you get. So if we bring you a 9.8, like I think tomorrow we're going to have a Deceased #2 9.8. So when we bring the 9.8. That's the one you're getting if you put a claim on it. We've talked about this before about CGC and how they've gotten backed up. But all of the major grading companies, even for trading cards like PSA and SGC, I think that there were two factors kind of clashing together. I think that it was already starting to grow. Back issues were starting to appreciate in value, and then the pandemic hit. And everybody was stuck at home. And I think all of us kind of went back and said, well, I got those 3 long boxes of comics down in the basement, they've been sitting there. Let me go check them out. I got nothing better to do. I can only binge watch so much TV at any given time, right? And there's only so much beer one person can drink at one sitting. So you start going through your comics, you're thinking, you know what, these are in great shape. I'm going to go submit them and get them graded and slapped. And next thing you know, everybody's doing that.
Yep.
And next thing you know, they're backed up to the gills with submissions. And then, of course, like everybody else, they were running at maybe 50% capacity, whatever the case may be, due to quarantining and then staffing issues and everything else. And they got way behind. So I think at one point, one of our viewers said that they had submitted something in April and just got it like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's funny you say that. I just got this. Literally just got this. So it's a double-signed Canto 1 8.5. It was a CBCS signing. Just got it today, and I submitted it in April for the signing.
Wow.
So now I understand it's a signing, so it could be a little bit different. Things are going to be a lot slower, but
I know
that's a long time.
They're trying to tool up to deal with the capacity, but the problem is it's something that requires training and everything else. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But Preston,
yes.
thanks for watching Robbie AR's show. We appreciate it. But I saw a couple of his comments and pretty funny. So don't underestimate how much beer a person can drink. That is true. I think he also posted in the chat board earlier where would you get a good cheesesteak in Oklahoma? And now, I don't know. I'm from the Philly area. So and I know AR is originally from this area as well. But you're going to have to ask him where he can get a decent cheesesteak in Oklahoma. I have no idea.
Now, I saw this, and I was going to respond. I didn't want to cut you off because we had a good little, conversation going. There is a place in Oklahoma. I think it might actually be Oklahoma City. Maybe it's called Norman, one or the other. It's somewhere around there. It's called Philly Homa. And the food there is actually fantastic and really reminds me of just, a Philly cheesesteak, just
Right.
food you would get in Philadelphia. It's on the smaller side, and in my opinion, it's definitely pricey for what it is. But if you're from that area and now you came out here, it definitely reminded me of home. So they did a good job on that.
It's a matter of competition, right? AR,
Yeah.
when you have Pat's King of Steaks and Geno's right next door to each other, somebody's going to have to slash prices. Okay,
That too.
But when you're in Oklahoma City
and there's nobody.
You kind of got a monopoly going on there. You can charge whatever you want. If somebody's desperate enough for a cheesesteak, they're going to pay it.
Now, you bring up Pat's and Geno's. I'm going to be honest. If someone ever visits Philly and they say Pat's or Geno's, I wouldn't tell them to go to either of them. To me, that's very touristy. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying it's very marketed as, Pat's or Geno's. It's been a feud forever. They've been across the street from each other since existence. But there's so many other good places. Yeah, since the beginning of time, they've been built across from each other.
I would tend to agree with you. And the funny thing is, I actually went to high school with the current owner of Pat's King of Steaks, Frank Oliveri, many moons ago. But it has become kind of a tourist stop, if you will.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard. You got a couple of places locally that their cheesesteaks are so. But it's pretty hard to live in this area and not be able to find a good cheesesteak somewhere, that doesn't have the quote unquote, big name.
Yeah.
There was a place on South Street in Philadelphia, Jim Steaks.
That's the one, by the way. Philly Homa in Edmond. That's the one.
Okay. And the one about I remember through the years, and I used to stop at Jim's a lot, but I noticed the prices didn't change, but the cheesesteaks kept getting smaller until one day I went and it was about the size of a hot dog. And I'm like, this isn't right.
No, I don't blame you. My opinion, I don't know if you ever had it. I think the go-to is going to be John's roast pork. I think that one's fantastic.
The one in Philly?
It's either it might be right out. No, it's in Philly. It's in Philly.
Okay. All right. So, and just so that everybody understands, a Philadelphia roast pork sandwich is not pulled pork or barbecue or anything like that. It is its own entity, if you will.
It's phenomenal.
So, but yeah. So you see how easily we can digress into the world of cheesesteaks.
It's that simple.
It's just that simple.
I can't wait to have another one. I'm actually, I've talked about it before where I thought I was going to be moving home around June-ish. All right, this is tentative, but I might actually be moving home towards the end of December, early January. So a lot sooner than I thought.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
but I am beyond excited. It'll be
great to have you in the area.
Not 100% on the area yet, but if you know Allentown, I think it's going to be Allentown.
Yeah. Yes, Dorney Park.
Yeah, literally. So my family actually lives right there. Hey, you never know. But that's where my family's from. So that area kind of is what we're aiming for.
Gotcha. Okay.
But hey, we're gonna see how it goes.
That's not far.
I'm excited.
That's about an hour plus, depending on traffic on the Schuylkill, depending on time of day.
Hey, I'll make that drive. I'll come hang out.
Yeah, come hang out, man. Absolutely. We'll buy you a beer and a cheesesteak. We'll buy you more than one beer, as Preston said. I don't know how.
Don't underestimate.
Drink it one sitting, but as Preston says, never underestimate. So we'll leave that part open. Okay. But would love to have you. Come visit our offices and hang out, and do what we always do. We just chat.
It'll be awesome to come hang out for a bit. And Dan right here.
Yeah, Dan, you're making me crazy. Dan, I crave one every day, and all I got to do is drive 2 miles down the road to get a decent cheesesteak. Okay,
imagine how I feel.
I end up I don't know what I would do. That's one of the reasons I could never be a vegan. What do you do about the cheesesteak part?
All right,
what are you gonna do about
cheesecake too? I'm a big fan of that too.
Yeah, cheesecake. I love cheesecake as well. We digressed so much on Monday. We started talking about spam. If you can believe that. And I don't mean the kind you get in your computer, people. I'm talking about the one that comes in a can.
Oh man.
Yeah, we could drift way off the topic, as I know you know. Hey, you've been.
I was gonna say, I think we've talked about cheesesteaks now for about 10 minutes, and I'm honestly starving. Yeah, and now Preston wants a beer too. You know, I want
Me
cheese.
too,
I want
Preston.
cheesecake, a steak, and a beer. I need
I
it
can
all
almost
right
guarantee
now.
you what I'm having for dinner now.
So,
I give everybody a few guesses. But listen, we wanted to do something as well. It's been something we've been doing with other friends of ours, but I want to do it as well today. Basically, anybody that's watching AR show this evening, if you put something in the chat board, we're going to enter you into a contest. Okay.
cool.
And we're going to reveal the winner of the contest on, let's say, tomorrow. What do you think?
Hey, I'll be there tomorrow. So
All
everyone
right,
that's
so
in there right now, chat, make sure you comment. We got a bunch of people in here right now.
Right. You know, if you enter the chat board, just put something up there, you know, about cheesesteaks, beer, comic books, whatever you want. Okay. We'll draw a winner tomorrow. Do you have a randomizer, one of those randomizer things?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use something on the internet for that.
Oh, cool. You know what? You do it. We'll pick a winner on tomorrow's show, and the winner will get a premium comic, ultra limited edition, a variant cover with a retail value of $50 or more. And the winner will be drawn from whoever, you know, posts in the chat between now and the end of the show.
Awesome.
As a thank you for AR for having us on his show, for coming onto our show, and you know, and our new collaboration. You know, just trying to grow the comic industry, trying to help out the local comic shops. You know, I know everybody that's watching, you obviously watch AR shows and videos before. Definitely hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. You know, help him grow his channel, because the man is not only a great supporter of the comic book industry, but also very knowledgeable. He'll drop some serious information on you. If you're a new collector, experienced collector, or somewhere in the middle, there's always something, you know, on AR's channel that will teach you something.
Cool. I appreciate all the kind words. We got an awesome question for you though, from Forsaken V12.
That is a good question. I actually don't have the answer to that right at the tip of my fingers, but my guess is going to probably be either Vampirella or Red Sonia, probably our foundation title. So it's probably one or the other would be my guess, but we'll find out for you. Cool. Somebody in this building knows. They just don't happen to be here. I'm just the idiot they put in front of the camera. You know, so, but that is an excellent question. Yeah, I mean, so we're hoping that the comic book industry continues to grow. I mean, the number of local comic book shops that have fallen off in the last several years is almost frightening. You know, I think the number is halved, if not more. And I think
I know John had the number last week.
John,
I believe.
John is
48 or 48% or something. It was something crazy.
Yeah, it was something crazy, like it halved. And you know, you think about those, you know, beyond the fact that they're local businesses that support, you know, your local community. You know, they have families, they have kids, they have, you know, they have to put food on the table. So when you patronize your local mom and pop businesses, they put that money right back into your local economy. And when you see half of them disappear, it reminds me, and I think we mentioned this analogy before, you know, back when I was growing up, you'd go to your hardware store, your local hardware store owned by somebody that, you know, was a neighbor, and you could talk to them about, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? Yep. You know, what would you do for this? You know, I got a leaky toilet, you know, what do you suggest? And they've now been replaced by Lowe's and Home Depots. And, you know, if you want to learn how to fix something, we all go on YouTube, which isn't a bad thing. But you go to Home Depot and I'm looking for, you know, nails and, you know, and some bolts. And it could take me 30 minutes to find them. And
also, you know, 30 minutes to find someone that works there.
Yeah, the guy who works there is like, I'm not sure either. Because it would take a lifetime to learn where everything is. So, you know, that's something that's lost. And I would hate to see that happen to the comic book industry, where, the only place you're going to be able to get it, and you're starting to see that begin to happen, is from the publishers themselves. As independent publisher, that's not how we see it. If you're Marvel or DC, and again, no disrespect to them, and they've run a tremendous business model. They've put out great stuff for us as fans, but you don't want to lose those local comic book shops, that local comic book owner, that guy that's out there distributing, because they'll take stuff that maybe certain things that were carried at my local hardware store, Home Depot or Lowe's may not have, and your choices and that sense of competition begins to disappear. So we realize that those guys are the foundation of which everything is built.
It really is cool because, we talk about comic shops. I mentioned it earlier, how different a lot of them are. But, it's like you said, no disrespect to like all the online stores too, but going into the shop, even when you're checking out, if they have, the store manager's pick of the week or one of the employees' pick of the week, that might be something that you've never literally heard of. And you pick it up based on a pick of the week recommendation, and it's fantastic. And now that maybe opened the door to a whole new indie series, and maybe not just that, but an entire company that you've never heard of. And turns out they have all these other books that are right up your alley. Maybe they're known for that type of stuff, and that's not the first volume of it either. And and you wouldn't have never known that if you wouldn't have went into your LCS with just that pick of the week. My shop, even, they recommend stuff to me all the time, and they know I make these videos. They literally know that I go and give a breakdown on all of these books, and they still give me a recommendation. And it's stuff that I probably, even though I talk about it, I wouldn't have thought of it that way, or I wouldn't have known the details of that type of a story. I told my one shop owner I'm not a big X-Men fan. The last thing I read was House of X, Powers of X, thought it was all right, but there's just, 15 different X-Men titles that got released every other week. Right. And he said, all right, well, I recommend this, but here's where you need to start first. And then he gave me the hardcover to read. He said, if you like this, come back and read this. And it wasn't bad. It was Astonishing X-Men. I didn't get to the second volume yet, but he gave an entire breakdown of the entire Astonishing X-Men series, why he likes it, what he didn't like, and then what to read after that. And I would have never known that without his help.
I think you bring up a really good point. And I realize the world is shifting, and long before the pandemic came, brick and mortar type of sales was dwindling. We were all shifting to buying stuff online, and the pandemic just put that into high gear. And now, you got cargo ships, backed up in LA.
Yeah, I just heard about that. That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we were talking to Robbie on Monday night, and he says out where he's at, it's like $11 for a package of bacon anymore. Yeah,
I think it was $7 or $8 here.
Yeah, that's really scaring me. Are you kidding me?
That's bacon.
If we can't afford bacon, what are we going to do, AR? It's the end of the universe.
It's literally bacon.
Yeah, seriously, yes, that's how we got it. And then somehow that conversation drifted to spam. You see how we go? But
just like that.
You brought up a very good point. You went into your local shop, you were talking to, whomever the owner or, one of the employees there, asking for recommendations. And you're going to lose that when you buy stuff online. And again, I'm not criticizing buying online. I realize that's where the future is moving. But I want everybody to understand that something is always lost when you make that fundamental shift. And what's lost there is you're going to see ads, and on their website, I'm sure they're going to have, pick of the day, pick of the month, pick of the week. But that's a generic advertisement, of something that they're pushing for whatever reason. Maybe it is really a great read, or it's the hot title of the week, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they over-ordered it. Who knows? But you lose that one-on-one. As you said, you went in, you asked, and there's feedback because he's listening to you. He probably has an idea of what it is you normally order from your pull list, and he's like, well, he tends to like this type of read. And so he can adapt his recommendations to what you specifically like. Mm-hmm. That's kind of lost. That human interaction is lost. And again, I am a huge, and nothing against franchises or chains or anything like that. I understand that the people that work in those places are also live in my neighborhood and they spend money in my neighborhood. I know that. But there's a portion of that money that goes to some big CEO that sits in a huge office behind a massive desk. Okay. And I don't know who he is. Whereas when I go to my local mom and pop shop, whether it be the deli down the street or the cheese, the place that I go to, a place called Skylar's Hoagies for their cheesesteaks. It's the roll, the seated roll. The roll is so important.
A seated roll. There's not a lot of people that use a seated roll. That's a
You see,
a nice touch.
I love the seated roll. But anyway, I digress. I know this guy is here. I know he has 2 daughters that he raised here. I know that, he's dumping his money, he's paying his mortgage, he's dumping his money into the local, economy. And that's so important, and that one-on-one interaction, like, I could ask him, where do you get your rolls? That type of thing, that's a little bit lost, when you go to a chain or a franchise. And the same thing for comics. I don't want to see the future of comic books being you can only order your pull list from the DC website or the Marvel website or the Dynamite website. All of a sudden the ability for you to go into a shop and ask, hey, what's hot? What do you think? I'm looking for something new to read. What do you think? All that's going to be lost, because DC and Marvel, they're not going to spend the time to talk to you. They're just going to, push whatever's hot, at you. So, again, I want to, encourage everybody, do your thing. But definitely don't let these local comic book shops fade in, like hardware stores have, over the decades.
Yeah, it really comes down to the shop too. You see a lot of shops that may go out of business, but at the same time, it almost feels like some of these shops aren't willing to adapt with the times. Maybe they aren't swapping to any online sales. And then also maybe they're sticking to strictly one thing. Maybe they're only doing comic books. Maybe they're only doing cards. But some of the very successful shops back home in Pennsylvania, like the Encounter, that's my go-to shop. That's my LCS back at home. They do cards. They do collectibles. They have graded comics, new comic book day stuff, back issues, right. Pokemon, Magic the Gathering. They literally have everything. They set up online. They also do in-store. They go to all the shows. They are very with it. And it's insane to see, even the last couple of years of me being away, how much they've grown. I show up maybe once a year, once every 2 years. And every time I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, you guys have expanded completely. And not just that, before COVID, and I guess they're working towards doing it again. I don't know what the PA laws are right now, as far as, vaccine, whatever. But they do game night. So I think every Friday or every Friday and Saturday, everybody comes in and they all play Magic. They all play, those board games. But there's a lot of shops that aren't willing to do that or, maybe make the time to do that. So it comes down to the shop as well with what they're willing to do. But man, some of those shops, they truly do go above and beyond with, what they're willing to.
No, you bring up a very good point too. I mean, irregardless, a business has to adapt to the needs of its clientele. And if, you have a high interest in gaming night, then you should be running a gaming night, so you still have to do the basics of supporting your business that, from that perspective. I'm talking about more of the outside factors that have kind of affected, the local businesses, the local comic book shops, things that are beyond their control, like the pandemic, like, the fact that people are shifting their buying habits from brick and mortar to online. And listen, I'm as guilty as anybody else. I never bought books online. I never liked going to the mall. I never did, long before internet shopping was a thing, I just didn't enjoy it. So when given the opportunity to buy certain things online without having to, drive to the mall, park, go in, walk around, I was that guy. I would park at the closest entrance to the store that I needed to go to, make a beeline to the store, get what I needed, make a beeline out, So I'm just as guilty as anyone else.
I was going to say, I'm guilty of that too. I hate the mall. I absolutely hate going there. There's a lot of public places I literally hate going. It's so much easier to get it online. So I'm very guilty too. But that LCS, I will give more money to an LCS before I buy it online any day of the week. I love my shops. I love the people and just the care that they put into the books. They really make sure that you're getting exactly what you want. Right. And it's a shame that not all shops are like that. But man, when you find a good one, you found a good one. I'll say that much.
And Richard brings up an interesting point, though. And this is a very valid point that it brings up. When your LCS has prices 40% higher than online, it's tough not to click the link.
Absolutely.
That's
agree.
True. Listen, nobody's sitting here saying that you should spend more money than you need to. Okay. But, it's in a strange sort of way more than that. So when I say that, what I mean is that if you have your weekly pull list at a local shop, you're getting that at that cover price, and everybody else is more or less selling it at that cover price, unless they're undercutting. But as a distributor, you have certain rules that you have to follow, so on and so forth. And certainly, there's the laws of diminishing returns and scale, economies of scale and all that stuff that gets involved. But keep in mind that the same reason. So let me segue this way. We'll bring you a lot of autographed comics from a lot of creators that you really just can't get the signatures anymore, or they're not showing up at cons for a variety of different reasons. Some of them are older in age, like a John Romita Sr. is just essentially more or less retired, so he's not going to cons. The pandemic has certainly thrown a wrench into that as well, because people have health concerns, so they don't necessarily want to be at a con. But that doesn't mean, so can we bring you something cheaper than going to the con, buying a ticket, standing in line, all that? Yeah, we can. And if it helps your collection and it's something you haven't picked up before or you're a collector of and you need it, we'd love to provide it to you at an affordable price. But that doesn't mean don't go to a con, because there is an intangible when you go to a con, the experience itself, the cosplayers,
the experience,
the discount boxes, just kind of taking in the whole experience. There's something to be said for that, and we don't want that to be lost either. And the local comic book shop is another place where I really believe that that's an experience. We used to, this is my second time around, but I used to work for Dynamite years ago. And to be quite honest, Wednesday New Comic Book Day was an event for us. So, we go to a local comic book shop, a whole bunch of us, and then we go to this local little place, and everybody would have a beer at lunch. And it was every Wednesday something you look forward to. And, see some of the same people, gossip about the same topics, people from all kinds of different walks of life, gathering in one place, talking about something they have a common interest in. And that really is able to get that love. And I see Ryan jumped in. I love my LCS. I was able to get discounted rates on my collected edition orders, and now it's cheaper than any. See, it's more than likely your local comic book shop is going to be willing to talk to you and work something out with you.
Yep.
To keep your long-term business. These guys are businessmen as well, so they're trying to run that business. But again, not saying that purchasing online is a bad thing. Yes, I have Amazon Prime. Yes, I bought cast iron pans during the pandemic with no real idea what I was going to do with these things. Boy, they're heavy. And you
saw the videos.
It's a real pain. But I got all into it. I was bored. But
that'll do it.
But then I found myself talking to other people that were into cooking about their cast iron pans. Just to kind of talk to people, because that was my thing, and it would have been so much fun to be doing it in person, as opposed to through text or Messenger or whatever. It kind of lost, and then I kind of lost interest on it, because you have to clean the thing all the time, and cooking's a real pain if you got to do it every night. So I kind of lost track of that, but same kind of thing, and we don't want those things to disappear. I think everybody will feel the loss. If you're a comic book lover, you're a collector, you're an avid reader, I think that if they finally disappear, kind of like Blockbuster, I think Blockbuster is probably the best example. There's one left, and that one will be around forever, somewhere in Oregon or somewhere. And it's been in the news lately, and through the last several years, it's the last Blockbusters left. I know, Blockbuster as an organization is gone, but that's still there. It's become a tourist spot, if you will. So it's really weird. But so again, that's why we do what we do. We're hoping to keep alive those important parts of the comic book world.
I agree. And I'd say at that point, that's a good way to end on, because I know you're a very busy man. We went a couple minutes over what we were supposed to. Hey, it was good conversations, though.
Always, my man.
But I just want to say thank you so much again for coming on. I love doing this every Tuesday. And obviously, I love coming on every Wednesday as well on The Experience. The links are all down low in the description. Please go check them out as well. They go live all the time. They come out with awesome other content. Check them out on Instagram too. And catch me on there tomorrow. Make sure you comment, because there is going to be that giveaway as well. It's a surprise book, but you definitely want to see what that is tomorrow. And as always, Rex, thank you so much for coming on. It truly does mean a lot to me. It's always a good conversation. We could talk for hours, I feel like.
And listen, we're hopeful that the move happens. You move back to the East Coast, and we'll definitely hang out. Cheesesteaks, beers on me.
Awesome. It's coming. once I get a little bit more info, I'll be able to tell you, but the time's coming for sure.
Excellent.
And on that note, thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day. Make sure to check us out tomorrow on
Thanks
The
for joining
Experience.
us.
Thank you again.